Hey guys, welcome back to Ace Recaps. Today I'm going to be explaining a 2012 Telugu action fantasy film titled Maki. The movie starts off with Sléep, who's a billionaire playboy and the CEO of a multinational construction company. He is a ladies' man and no woman has ever denied him. He can be seen shooting at a gun range, and then hits on a random woman by getting her close and teaching her how to shoot. In the next scene, Bindu, a micro-artist who works at a charity firm, is seen making a necklace. Suddenly the power in the neighborhood goes out. Her neighbor Nani is madly in love with her for the past 2 years. Looking at her struggle, he builds her a light from his rooftop. This brings a smile on her face, but she likes playing hard to get. Nani is convinced that she's in love with him as well. While Bindu is at work, Nani comes and annoys her with a 15 rupees donation. He acts all cool and flirty and Bindu is clearly in love with him. Somebody then approaches her and gives her the business card of Sléep to ask him for a donation. She excitedly agrees as he is well known as a wealthy person in the city. She books an appointment and goes to his office thinking he's a respectful man. But as soon as Sléep sees her, he clearly starts having seductive thoughts about her. He donates 1.5 million rupees to her company and asks if he can attend the donation with her. Bindu innocently agrees, thinking he just wants to help. In the next scene they are seen giving school supplies to children. Once they are done with the work, Sléep asks Bindu out for lunch. He takes her to a fancy restaurant and tries to hit on her. But Bindu seems very distracted as she keeps checking out Nani, who's also at the same place working. This pisses him off and he demands for the check and gets out of there with her. Nani is seen following her on his bike and she requests Sléep to drop her off at the market. He tries to ask her if he could join her, but she just ignores him and goes away. This really messes with the billionaire's ego. He is seen following them at the market and plans something very heinous to finally get his hands on the girl. The next night, after work, Bindu's scooter seems to be out of gas. Scared to walk home alone, she calls Nani to assist her. They both share a very romantic walk together through the streets of the city. He dances for her and they even visit a church together. After a few hours they finally reach home and Nani waits outside for her. Bindu completes her necklace and shows it to Nani as she made it for him. Suddenly a van comes and kidnaps Nani. When Bindu reaches the street she is surprised as Nani was just there a minute ago. She doesn't think much of it and goes back home. We then watch as Sléep beats the crap out of Nani. He tells him how no girl has ever rejected him until now, but because of him, the girl he really wants has denied him. Nani gets mad and tells him that if he ever goes near Bindu, he's going to kill him. Sléep laughs at him and steps on his neck, choking him to death. As he's dying he pictures the love of his life. Sléep finishes the job and walks away. Just then Bindu calls Nani and tells him how much she loves him. His soul, listening to this, isn't able to move on to the next life. So it finds its way into some eggs nearby. The next day, on her way to work, Bindu spots a crowd on the road. When she goes to inquire, she sees that it's Nani who's fallen dead on the road. Sléep made it look like he met with an accident. Bindu is left dumbstruck, not knowing how to react as the love of her life has passed away. In the next scene we watch as the eggs hatch. A housefly comes out of it and we realize that it's Nani who's been reincarnated. All the other houseflies fly away, but Nani is stuck there trying to figure out how to use his newfound wings. Suddenly a water stream starts to flow and Nani is seen struggling to escape it. He runs away from it and finally figures out how to use his wings. He is then seen exploring this world in the eyes of a fly. He goes around from place to place looking at people and kids playing. Suddenly a bird spots him and decides to make him its lunch. He flies away trying to escape it and finally lands in a house and the bird is left outside. Unfortunately he falls into a glass of iced tea and we see that he's ended up at Sléep's house. Nani recognizes Sléep for killing him and finally escapes the glass as he sips on it. He dries himself off and tries to attack Sléep by flying into his face, but Sléep doesn't even notice him and he falls to the ground. He tries a few more times but fails miserably. Nani then spots some micro art made by Bindu and he has flashbacks of her. He decides to go meet her and flies through the city to her house. he finally finds her and still loves her. He sees that she still wears the necklace she made in memory of him. As she gets ready for work, he tries to signal her by sitting in front of the mirror, but she just shoos him away. Downstairs, Nani watches as Bindu tells her sister how much she loves and misses Nani. She travels early to work to keep herself distracted from all the pain. At work, Sléep shows up out of nowhere. He tries to sympathize with her over his wife's death. He tells her that she needs to forget Nani and move on as he's never going to come back. Bindu breaks down crying and Sléep gets all touchy trying to cheer her up. Nani, looking at this, gets very mad and decides to do something about it. He flies to his ear and goes on buzzing. Sléep tries to shoo the fly away, but Nani just moves onto the other ear. Sléep gets annoyed and starts acting all weird and Nani flies up his nose. Looking at Sléep act crazy, Bindu is shocked and asks him if anything is wrong. But he tells her that he's just trying to make her laugh and leaves. Back at home, Sléep sits down for a steam. The maid locks him in and leaves the room. Nani looks at it as a great opportunity and flies up to him. He starts annoying the crap out of Sléep again, but he's not able to do anything about it because he's locked in. He flies into his ear and Sléep starts to move around, which gets the steam machine to start rolling forward. He screams for help but nobody hears him. He is headed straight for some spikes but luckily just misses them. The maid then comes in and helps him out. Sléep jumps up and gets really mad. He then spots the fly and tries to kill it by smacking it with his towel. He chases it out of the room and goes around the house trying to kill it. Downstairs, his business partner is having a meeting with some very important people. They all look at Sléep running around naked and are shocked. They all then leave. The next day, Sléep invites Bindu and his colleagues over to his office. He tells her that he set up a meeting with a prestigious institution in Delhi who can help them out in their mission, and he invites Bindu to join him. She agrees and Nani is left shocked, not knowing what to do about this. That night as Sléep sleeps, Nani starts annoying him again by flying around his face. He wakes up and covers himself, but Nani finds a way in through his bedsheet and starts annoying him again. He then decides to go downstairs and sleep on his couch, but as he tries to sleep there, Nani comes again. He gets so annoyed and tries to sleep in different places, but he isn't able to and he spends all night awake. He finally wraps himself like a mummy and falls asleep. The next morning is his flight to Delhi with Bindu and looks like he's overslept. Bindu calls him from the airport and Sléep tells her he'll be there soon and rushes to get there. While being stuck in traffic, Nani overhears their call and decides to mess with him again. He goes and irritates the traffic police, which distracts him and causes a huge block. Sléep decides to leave his car behind and goes to a nearby friend and borrows his car. While driving, he spots the fly on the steering wheel and manages to blow it out the window. Nani is now left stranded in the middle of nowhere and has no means to get to Bindu. Luckily, he spots a police car and manages to hike a ride on it. When he reaches Sléep's car, he flies straight into his eyes, causing him to have a major accident. He hits the divider and smashes into an oncoming truck, causing him to be trapped in the vehicle. Nani is then seen writing, "I will kill you," on the car window, which shocks him. In the next scene we see that Sléep is back at home and he's been badly injured due to the accident. He's terrified of the fly, so he's seen holding a can of bug spray for self-defense against the tiny fly. The doctor tells him that he'll be all right and leaves. Just then Bindu arrives and Sléep acts all drowsy due to the medicine. This was just an excuse to get touchy with her. Nani sees this and tries to attack again, but Bindu spots the fly and sprays him. Nani is now poisoned and is not able to fly because of the sticky poison. He falls straight into the garden and is stuck there. Luckily, the sprinkler turns on and Nani is saved. The water gets the poison off of him and he passes out. That night Sléep is seen investigating the strange phenomenon. He goes to an entomologist, who laughs at his face and tells him that he needs a psychiatrist as he's hallucinating because a housefly cannot hold a grudge. Sléep then decides to visit the impound lot and finds his crashed car. He spots the piece of glass where the fly wrote that it's going to kill him and he realizes that he's not hallucinating. The next day, Nani finally wakes up and heads straight to Bindu's house. He sees Bindu crying over his death and he gets an idea. Using her tears on the desk, he writes that he's Nani, who's reborn. This shocks Bindu, but she comes to her senses and starts talking to the fly. Nani then flies over to Sudeep's picture and she realizes that he's the one who killed Nani because he's obsessed with her. She breaks down and realizes that she needs to kill him to get her revenge. Bindu and Nani then start training every day to make Nani stronger so he can take on Sudeep. He's seen training with miniature training equipment made by Bindu. And Sudeep is seen eliminating all the flies in his house. He buys fly poison but Nani just takes all the beads and drops it into his juice, which makes him puke. After he's done smoking, Nani takes the cigarette and drops it on his bed, causing a fire. By now Sudeep is extremely paranoid and keeps guards around him even while eating food. Nani then spots a mini cannon in Sudeep's house and realizes he can use gunpowder to turn it into a weapon and kill Sudeep. So Bindu starts helping him by collecting gunpowder and filling it up into a mini basket which Nani carries every day and fills into the cannon. He finally gets Sudeep to throw a metal ball into the cannon by pretending to go into it. But Nani just escapes from the fire hole and goes high-fives Bindu as their plan is finally completed. The next day when the cannon is facing Sudeep, Nani finds a matchstick and just as he's about to fire it, a guard who rubs his nose on a tissue paper uses the cannon as a dustbin, blocking the hole. This leaves their plan to fail miserably. A few days later Sudeep is then seen installing an insane security system in his mansion. With this system every bug that enters the house can be terminated and not even air is allowed to enter the premises without Sudeep knowing about it. Nani tries to enter the house by hiding in the clothes of a guest. But Sudeep spots him and the guards try to exterminate him. Luckily Nani escapes out of the house in time. He tells this to Bindu, who decides to do something about it. She goes to Sudeep's house and pretends to care about him. Meanwhile we see that she goes to the nearby window and unsuspectingly takes out a screw, letting Nani in. Just as Sudeep comes close to try a move on her, Nani interferes and freaks out Sudeep. Bindu acts all flirty with him, but Sudeep can't seem to keep a straight face because Nani is in his clothes digging into his skin. Sudeep then spots blood and sends Bindu home. Sudeep seems to slowly be losing his mind and he signed all the important documents with the word Housefly. This irritates his business partner as they have an important business meeting worth $1 billion the next day. In the car, he is seen begging Sudeep to behave well and present their offer as if they lose this client they are going to be bankrupt. Sudeep, who doesn't seem to be in his right mind, still agrees. At the meeting, Sudeep enters wearing a helmet, paranoid about the housefly. His partner fights with him and takes off the helmet. As he explains about the future project, he tells them how he's going to use 15,000 tons of fly repellent to keep bugs away. This shocks the investors. Suddenly he's interrupted by Nani, who jumps in front of him. Nani then goes and lands on an investor's head and Sudeep slaps him. They all end up fighting and Sudeep finally spots the housefly on the chairman's head. So he drops a pot of mud on him. Everyone leaves the hall mad as hell. One of the investors even informs the tax department about the money they've stored in the office. Somebody informs Sudeep about this, and he decides to move all the money out of the office. When he goes to enter the password on the vault, Nani keeps interfering and Sudeep ends up typing gibberish. After 3 failed attempts, the vault is permanently locked. This leaves Sudeep in a major pickle. He decides to take matters into his own hands and use a welding gun to pry open the vault. As he's welding, Nani comes on his face again and Sudeep freaks out, leaving the gun hanging. He's distracted by the fly and tries his best to shoo it away, but doesn't notice that there's a hole burning in the vault. By the time he sees it, the money inside the vault has already caught on fire. He tries his best to open the locker but in vain. By the time the vault is finally opened, all the money is lit up in flames. Sudeep just breaks down, not knowing what to do. That night he's had enough and decides to go visit an evil witch for his help, to once and for all get rid of the fly. The witch takes him to the spot where the reincarnation occurred and Sudeep realizes that it's the same spot he killed Nani. They decide to go home and perform some black magic to get rid of him. At home the witch casts a spell on 2 birds which turns them evil. The birds then start to chase Nani around the room trying to kill him. They chase him for a while but fail to catch him as he's sly as hell. Finally Nani manages to outsmart both the birds. One catches fire and the other flies into a switchboard. This causes the house to short-circuit, shutting the doors and windows. Nani manages to escape in time, but the witch and Sléep are still stuck in. The fire used to cast the spell fills up the room with smoke. They both try to escape, but the witch slips and impales himself on a piece of broken glass. As Sléep tries to break down the door, he finally passes out because of the smoke. Nani thinks that he finally killed Sléep and celebrates. He tells Bindu the good news and she seems happy as well. Unfortunately for them, the business partner arrives in time and rescues Sléep. The next morning, while arguing with his partner about the incidents of last night, he notices wind blowing through the tiny hole by the window. He quickly goes through his surveillance footage and figures out that Bindu's the one who's been helping Nani all this time. He then kills his business partner for the insurance money and decides to go teach Bindu a lesson. At home, Bindu and Nani are seen playing a game. She's suddenly interrupted by Sléep and is shocked because she thought he was dead. He drags her back to his house and shows her the surveillance footage and makes fun of her for getting caught after helping a housefly kill him. He drags her by her neck and challenges Nani to come and fight him now. He raises his legs and tells Nani to come under it or he's going to slit her throat. Sléep lifts his leg to kill Nani, but he manages to keep a long needle straight up which goes straight through Sléep's legs. In this chaos Bindu manages to hide. Sléep gets his super glasses to spot flies and gets out all his guns. He starts firing all around, destroying his house to bits trying to kill Nani. But Nani manages to dodge all the bullets. Nani throws a metal bullet which causes the house to short-circuit and a massive chandelier falls over Sléep. He dodges it, but gets scraped all over because of the glass pieces. Nani then tries to attack him with the same needle but he gets stuck because of a magnet. Sléep finally celebrates for catching the fly and he finds Bindu hiding in some home decor. He makes her watch as he tortures Nani. He cuts off his wings and makes her hold the needle while trying to stab him. Bindu cries and begs him to stop but Sléep just laughs. Just then Nani notices the cannon which was blocked before has been opened now due to all the commotion. He covers himself in gunpowder and Sléep decides to burn him alive for all the pain he's caused. Nani uses this opportunity to light himself on fire and run into the cannon. The bullet fired from the cannon goes straight through Sléep and into some gas cylinders. Everybody runs for shelter and Sléep is killed by the soul of Nani through the fire. Bindu finds a wing in the rubble and decides to make a necklace out of it. A few days later as Bindu travels to work on her scooter, she is harassed by a man on a bike. Suddenly a fly comes and makes the man crash. And we see that Nani has been reincarnated again in the body of a stronger housefly. That's all folks. Thank you for watching. If you like the video please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Have a great day.